What is up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster. You already saw the guest. That wasn't supposed to happen. It's not like it's a wedding thing where you see the guest and then all of a sudden you go, oh no, it's ruined. It's bad luck. That's not what happens here. My name is Rafa Esparza. It is a pleasure to see you. It is 8:38 Best Coast time. I'm very excited to talk about our guest, but first, let's do a couple little housekeeping items. First and foremost, if you like us, and we hope that you do, give us some love. Go find us at Grappling Hour on all major properties. We're talking Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, dope. That's great. But give us a like and a subscription on all of those channels, including Twitter, Twitch, all that sort of stuff. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You go do that, and if you give us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, then you will also truly get some love from us. I do have to answer this one because I want to make sure people know this is something that we do every year. It's called WWE BJJ Week. And the note here says, when are the WWE submissions due? If you're new to our program and you wonder, what does that mean? It's very simple. Every year, the week before WrestleMania, we do a segment called WWE BJJ. And that is where we encourage fans and friends of the show to submit videos that interpolate pro wrestling in jiu-jitsu settings. AKA, go nuts, go wild. Do whatever it is that makes you think, man, I wish I could do this in jiu-jitsu. That's what this is for. We ask that you submit videos directly to us. Do not premiere them on your channel. And if you do get them in by this Saturday at 11:59 Best Coast time, aka Pacific, you're going to be eligible for our grand prize. What's our grand prize? I'll tell you right now. It's a championship belt. Specifically designed for us by one of the best artists, world's deadliest art. This gentleman has drawn for the Cartoon Network. He is a badass practitioner. He is a black belt. And I don't want to give it too much away. I'll show you a mirrored image. I don't even want to show you what it really, really looks like just yet. But I want you guys to kind of understand, this is just a little bit of a preview. So if you can't see it, too bad. You have to see the real thing. How do you do that? You win. And I see a note here that says, AKA Grapplers Gone Wild. Yes, both an opportunity to be a little stupid and have some fun. Which, if we're about anything on this show, it's about loosening up the sport of jiu-jitsu. Let's talk about our guest today. Our guest today has a fight coming up on June 5th. That is going to be with, I believe, the Combat Night organization. He is a gentleman, well-rounded individual, been fighting. You might have seen him, and if you don't know him, we're going to get to know more about him today. For example, I have learned that his nickname is the Administrator. And I think to myself, how does one get that name? Do you punch in numbers in a spreadsheet? When you think of powerful names, the Administrator kind of sounds like the reverse version of the Punisher. Like somebody who instills fear. This is somebody who you think, oh God, is the Administrator going to come by my office today? Of course, nicknames are usually given in jest, and I think today it's about time we figure out why that is. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show for the very first time, Jeff, the Administrator, Peterson. Jeff, how are you doing here today?
Pretty good, Ralph. How are you doing?
Very well. I have to ask, let's just get straight to it. How does one become called the Administrator, sir?
So, I actually served in the Marine Corps from 2008 to 2012. And while I was in, I was a legal administrator or legal admin. And the unit I was working at, they were kind of unaware that was my position, because I just look how I look. So I was like, walking around all, like this, cauliflower ears, and they just assumed I was an infantry guy. And then one day they're like, oh, why do you know all this stuff about like random stuff, paperwork, junk and numbers and stuff? I was like, oh, I'm the admin chief. And they were like, you're an admin? Are you serious, man? You look like you should be war fighting and stuff. I was like, yeah, I do, in a cage. And so some of my fellow Marines started watching me fight locally in Virginia, and then eventually they just started calling me the Administrator, and the fight name stuck.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I've known people who in the fight game or the jiu-jitsu game, I have a friend who's known as the accountant, and guess what he is? An accountant. Yeah. With you, I did figure you might have been an administrator to some effect, but when that happens, do you ever look at anybody and say, can we have a second name? Or do you look at that and say, no, I am an administrator, and I'm here to serve truth, justice, the American way? Like, do you turn it into some sort of character? What does that mean for you? Like, what does the administrator mean to you?
Dude, at this point, the administrator is just who I am. You know, no one else has that name. No one else, at least as far as I know, no fighter has ever gone by that. To me, that's just who I am. It's part of my identity. I was a legal admin. I'm far from that now. Now I'm just an administrator of ass whoopings.
That's good. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. I don't think you're going to have too many other legal administrators who will really give you a run for your money. So I think amongst them, you're probably on the higher scale. So good racket to get. Let's get to like talking a little bit about your origins. You were telling me off air that your martial arts career goes back about 15 years. But I'm going to say that may be predated by the time that you were spending in our military. So can you give me a little bit of an estimation about where do sports happen for you first? Let's start there.
Man, so growing up, I was like any other kid with sports. Like I tried soccer and I tried baseball and all that sort of stuff. It just never, I don't know, it wasn't really my thing. Once I became a teenager, I focused more on having a job and making money while I was in high school. Up until I got a little bit older, when I was about 15, 16, I started getting in just a little bit of trouble when I was younger, and getting in fights without really knowing what I was doing, you know, just fights for stupid things. And I got beat up really bad one time. Like, I came home and my nose was all crooked and I had black eyes, lips are busted up. These guys really beat me up, like kind of jumped me. And then my dad was freaking out, of course, and he's like, man, you need to learn how to fight for real. And he hooked me up with one of his lifelong friends who was an amateur boxer. And I kind of started just getting my stuff together. The whole summer before my senior year of high school was really where it really started for me. I got on a regimen, you know, my coach was like, hey, you need to be at the gym every day at 8 o'clock. So I was at the gym every day for a whole summer, 8 a.m., working with this guy, and he was taught me the basics of boxing. And then I started just, you know, being more athletic at that point. And eventually I found MMA through a friend. We were at a party, I guess you'd say, and I was grappling a bunch of people. Again, this is like when I'm like 16 or 17. I don't really know what I'm doing. And we were like grappling, you know, just a bunch of guys, like, let's see who can choke out who and all this, you know. And I was pretty thick back then as a teenager, and pretty athletic at that point. But this skinny dude comes up and everyone's egging it on. Hey man, you should roll with Chris over there. You should roll with Chris. And I'm looking at him like, who's this little 120-pound guy? This guy ain't gonna do nothing to me. So we're starting from the knees, and we're on a carpet in our jeans and stuff, you know, but we're on our knees, and I go to grab him, right? And he rolls back and he throws me in a triangle, and I'm tapping right away. And then I'm like, you know, wide-eyed, like, dude, I just went through all these, like, I just rolled with like 5 guys and smoked them all. And then I got this little dude choking me out. I'm like, let's do it again. So we go again, same thing. I grab him, he rolls to his back, and he arm bars me. And from then on, man, I was like super hooked, super hooked that somebody who looked the way he looked could do those things to me.
I wonder, seriously though, if the people who threw all these house parties back then had any inclination, because not just you, but we're talking a number of people who've thrown house parties. I don't know if they knew how many fighters that they were building during those years, because you have a very similar story to so many other people who ended up becoming fighters, where it was just like, man, I was just at a party And I was like, I'm gonna beat up this kid who's like a $120, which always tells me something like about where people were at that point in their life, where they're like, you know what, I'm a big guy. I'm gonna destroy this 120-pounder, and then I'm gonna go back to drinking, and I think it'll be fun. So here's the good news. Obviously, you get that out of your system, and you find something that's pretty great in jiu-jitsu. So does that become, after boxing, that next kind of step for you? Do you start going to jiu-jitsu, and how long are you going at this point?
Yeah, so this is in the middle of nowhere, super northern Wisconsin, by the way, just to put the setting there. There still isn't an MMA gym in my hometown.
Interesting.
Basically, at this time, there was a club. They rented the third floor of a post office, of the local post office. We had a couple wrestling mats and like a punching bag. So dude arm bars me and triangles me. I'm hooked. I need to learn how to do this ninja stuff. And he just invites me to the gym. Well, it's not really a gym, but invites me to this place. I go up there, and it's all older guys. I'm the youngest person there. I'm probably 17 by the time I go there. And it's these older crew of guys that they're doing MMA fights. Like they're for real. They've all had professional MMA fights at this point. I'm coming in there, this kid with a big old ego, and probably the first 2 weeks, all they did was just beat me up. They just broke the ego right out of me, because I'm thinking, I go in there, I'm like, who are all these old guys, man? I'm gonna throw. I had a big ego at the time, if you can't tell. This is the second time in my origin story where I've gone, I'm gonna smoke this guy. But yeah, really, they just beat me up. And I'm sure you know firsthand that that first time you feel suffocated on the ground, when you're on your back and someone's on top of you and you literally just cannot do anything. No matter how athletic, how strong you are, there's just nothing you can do. And that was a tough pill for me to swallow. Like, I was back home thinking, I'm like, man, I don't even need to do this MMA stuff, but there's just something about that one-on-one feeling, just that going to battle with somebody, just one person right in front of you, that just had me hooked. And plus it's fun to choke and hit people. I mean, who can argue that?
Yes, of course. I would tell you this. When somebody says something like that, there's only one profession they really can have legally, where they're like, it's just fun to choke and hit people. You must be a fighter. At least I hope you are. With that being said, I would tell you, I think it's cool that you have perspective now to what that was, because I think what ends up happening is people go through that, and then they go through those years of, oh, you know what? I see what I was doing then. Like, I see what that was. I see that was ego. And I think that's actually more reflective of growing up than some people who can go on for years without that. I had the opposite way. My whole trick, my party trick, when I was grappling with my friends, when I was playing sports with, was I was just durable. So instead of me half the time proving to these people I'm tough, it was literally just me being like, oh, no, they just want to see if I can hang. And then they're always like, he's not bad. And I go, I'm not good either. And guess what? That's a very
forever, man.
Yeah, and it's a very serviceable trait in jiu-jitsu where people go like,
it is.
You have really good defense. And I'm like, I guess. But you know what it is?
Right. Good defense, man. Yeah.
It comes from years. It wasn't good enough to
stop my arm bar, but it was pretty.
I'll tell you this. There have been many people who have basically called on me during their camps, be it jiu-jitsu or MMA, that literally bring me over for the sole purpose of, if I can do this to you, I can probably do this to somebody that's really important. I go, that's a kind of backhand compliment, and I'll take it. I also want to go ahead and fix this real quick, and if people are watching, know the professional sort of thing that we've got here. But look at this. You can bring this on, and you will see it happening, so that way you know where to follow Jeff here at any given time. I'm glad that you're pointing toward it as well. But yes, people can go find you right there. All right. I want to make sure. Oh, okay. You know what? It was weird. I thought there might have been a typo because I read it as Jeff Head Administrator. And I was like, no, don't tell me I wrote it wrong. Jeff, so you end up doing this. I always ask people this question because it really does matter to me. And I kind of get the idea that you've answered it in some way, but there's something more that happens in the sport than just say, I like this, or I think this is fun or diverting to do. There's a moment when you fall in love with the sport. Do you remember the exact moment you fell in love with the sport?
Man, uh, there. I don't know about falling in love with the sport. I think that actually came quite a bit later. I was more. Uh, I just really liked the fight. But like I said before, I had even really dabbled into the true martial arts. I was that guy that I was putting on gloves with my friends, and we were just punching each other's heads in with no technique, in my mom's living room or out in the garage or wherever. And once I had that road, I saw that path to, man, I can fight people, and it's gonna be a big deal. You're gonna, you get your walkout song, you get to walk out there, do your thing, all eyes on you, and then you just get to hopefully be on the giving end of a good beating.
Well, part of the reason why I asked that is because when you end up doing this, it becomes a very grueling profession, especially at the beginning. So there's more than just it being a hobby. There's a moment when you kind of say, you know what? I'm so passionate about this. It is something that I want to pursue as an active thing. So do you know that kind of moment when you were like, no, this is something I can make happen?
Man, it was probably within my first fight, the first fight I had, like real fight, like, a real MMA fight. I was pretty hooked. Pretty hooked. I had my first fight was right after I turned 18. It was like 3 weeks after, and I had only been doing real training for 6 months, maybe. I don't even. It's hard to even say compared to what I know now. It's hard to say that my old training was like real training. You know what I mean? It was just It was just a few tough guys doing our best to get ready for a fist fight. So.
Well, let's be clear. Even if you go back and look at what was happening in the UFC in '93, I still think there are improvements that even those people would go, "What were we doing?"
Oh yeah, definitely. Although some old school things are for training, I feel like old school tactics and old school training methods, like they're just timeless. There are some old school things you just have to do, but then there are some things like maybe sparring with no warm up one day before your fight is maybe a bad idea. Maybe rolling live for 10 rounds with sauna suits on isn't the best way to cut weight. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
And again, this is part of the tricks of the trade that you get from doing this all these years. So I know we jumped around a little bit, but I want to kind of go back. So you kind of get introduced to jiu-jitsu. Where does the military service come in at this juncture?
So I graduate high school early in 2008. I graduated early, got all my stuff done, and so I graduate in January, and I fight 3 weeks after. And I was in wrestling, so I wrestled my senior year. It was the only school sport I did all through high school. Before that, I was just being a hooligan, and then the guy who was teaching me jiu-jitsu and MMA and stuff and getting me these fights, he actually encouraged me to do wrestling. He's like, hey, wrestling season's starting, like you should wrestle. Like it's the only time in your life you're going to be able to just go for free. You're in high school. It's a high school thing. Go do it. So wrestled. And then I actually didn't finish the season because I got my first MMA fight. So my first MMA fight, this is my first like competition fight period, is across the street from the Packers Dome in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And the main event that night, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but he was a former Packer anyways, for all you football people out there. So it's sold out. It's a huge crowd. It's like 2,000 plus people in this giant place. And I'm the first fight of the night in my first fight. And that's actually it's a funny story in itself. But yeah, I go out there, first fight, it's three 3-minute rounds. No gear. It's just like a pro fight. You got we had 4-ounce gloves. Our hands are wrapped with tape, no shin guards, no nothing. It's just board shorts, gloves, nut cup, mouthpiece. And it's full rules. We can elbow, we can knee to the face, we can do everything. It's not watered down, like it is now, where you can't do this and can't do that. So yeah, I jump in there. I kind of got beat up in the first round, but this kind of goes on throughout my career that I get beat up in the first round all the time. And then second round, I come back. I end up dropping the kid, and I get him with the rear naked choke, get my first win in my first fight. Woo! And then, man, from there, it's a roller coaster. So I fight once in January, first MMA fight. Then I fight, I'm trying to think how many, I fight 7 more times by June. Okay? So I do first fight in January, and then I'm busy. I fight January, I fight once in February, I fight like 3 times in March. I do like an MMA fight. I do 2 Muay Thai fights in a night, another MMA fight at the end of the month. And then I fight 2 weeks before I then left for the Marine Corps. I actually went to boot camp with faint black eyes still from the fight.
How did that go over?
I don't know. They just gave me crap, They're like, oh, you think you're a tough guy? They don't care. It doesn't, like, when you're in boot camp, everyone is so, like, that's the one thing they do to you is nobody's special there. They make you're all just garbage. You're all nasty things, as they call us. Disgusting creatures.
So if you were getting this idea that MMA was a possibility, you had found jiu-jitsu, why then go into military service? Because it would seem like you're starting to see the formation of, oh, maybe this fight thing might work. Maybe this is the path that I want to go down. And so to do this, it doesn't necessarily seem like a far right turn, but it does say, why would you stop that momentum, or what would prompt you to do that?
I guess, man, I was just, some people after high school, you go to college. To me, I was like, well, my options are to stay in my hometown, which I didn't want to do, and or go to college and be in a bunch of college debt, or go in the military, which I was kind of like, man, it's just going to make me even more badass. That was like, my mindset. I'm like, yeah, I'll be in the freaking Marines and I'll be a badass. And they dig fighting, so why wouldn't I be able to keep fighting? And it actually, semi worked out. I did continue to fight while I was in the Marine Corps. I did have a gap though. My first 2 years in, I didn't fight. It was 2 years or 2.5 years while I was in the Corps. I didn't fight. It was just because too much stuff, bouncing around all over the place.
How did that make you feel, taking those 2.5 years off?
Oh man, it sucked. Like, the entire time I was in the Marine Corps, I was in my head. I was like, I'm running down these 4 years until I get out and pursue my fighting career. Was kind of, that was the light at the end of the tunnel for me. So then I got a bunch more amateur fights while I was in. And in my head, I was like, I'm just setting myself up. I'm going to fight as an amateur as much as I can, and then I'll get out and I'll go pro.
So does that take you away? Because I know that there's some combatives. I know that there are elements that you can maybe keep up physical stature, but that's not necessarily the same as being an active guy who is working every day at just MMA, just jiu-jitsu. How difficult was it to continue keeping up that, if you knew the end goal was still going to come back to fighting, were you still looking at people and being like, hey, who wants to get some rounds in? Like, can I just demo this on you real quick?
Man, I was. Literally everyone who knew me in the Marine Corps knew I was like the MMA fighter. Everyone knew. Like, they would go to, we would do like room inspections among a bunch of other inspections, but the higher ranks, they go through your room, and the old school thing, if they find some dust, they're gonna be like, look at this dust, you disgusting thing, but what would always, not that I didn't have a clean room, let's put it that way, but the guys would always come in and they'd end up seeing like, I'd have like a pair of gloves sit somewhere. I'd have something that just was like, it'll make their brain click, you know? They see a glove and they're like, oh, you're that MMA guy. Yeah, that MMA Marine. You do that fighting stuff? Oh, that's cool, Marine. And they just like look around my room real quick. Yeah. So when's your next fight? And this and that. And then they'd be like, all right, Semper Fi.
That's pretty dope, though.
And it was a lot of guys wanted to challenge me. That was natural. I can remember getting stationed at my very first unit, like after boot camp and then my schooling for my job. I get to my very first unit in Norfolk, Virginia, and within the first couple nights, you know, I don't really know anybody. I'm in the barracks. I got a roommate I've never met before, and you know, there's a bunch of people that live in the barracks. So when you're there for a weekend, like you're just in this place, this big apartment of young Marines, and you just have to, you know, get to know people, get to know each other. So somehow it ends up happening that these guys talk me into grappling, and it's like first or second night there, we're in gym shorts, got all these dudes, we're out in the middle of the, right where the duty is, and we're on our knees. I ended up getting a bunch of rug burns. It was crazy, but I don't know. It was definitely not hard to find someone to challenge you. You know, the Marines were always down to try to choke me out or punch me or whatever. You know, they'd be like, "Oh, you're an MMA fighter? Let me we should spar sometime." You know, "Hey, you're an MMA fighter? We should roll sometime." And I'm like, "Okay, buddy. Yeah, I'll see you at the gym."
See, we have, again, very opposite directions on how our lives played out. When my buddy got out of the Marines, he found me and another friend. We'd always get together and watch MMA fights. And he knew more than either me or the other guy. But then all of a sudden, you would see him at the end of whatever event we'd be watching. He'd be like, "Ultimate Fight." And I'd be like, "I'm not, what? Dude, get off me." Like, I just remember being like, you know, and then they start discovering, they're like, "You're not bad at this. Like, why is this?" And I was like, "Listen, I'm like Jackie Chan in every movie. I don't want to hurt anybody." And they would just be like, "No, but this is fascinating. I just want to see how far we can take this." So
yeah,
I have very fond memories of being in college and being like, "Can I go to a place with mats? This rug sucks.
Yeah.
Like, this blows, dude."
In the beginning of your jiu-jitsu stages, you definitely go through the rug burn phase, because you know, you hang out with your casual friends after you've been dabbling into this amazing thing, and then every time you're hanging out, you know, once someone brings it up or you bring it up, yeah, you know, I've just been doing martial arts now, so. And then your buddy's like, "Oh yeah, let's I can choke you out, man. I know I could try. I choked you out when we were kids. I'll choke you out now."
Yeah.
And then the rug burns.
But I would ask this, because I am curious about this, and we'll start transitioning to more you getting back outside of your time in the military. But I am curious, just in terms of, do you think that was something that would then give you a little bit more resolve? Because when you get tested like that, it's different than somebody coming to test you at a gym. This is like outside of the confines of a gym. It is purely a tough guy proposition in a room full of people who, you know, have a certain kind of mental fortitude.
Yeah, it was intimidating for sure, but I definitely held my own, and yeah, that did give me through my Marine Corps career, I already had that kind of mind of like, I'm like, man, I'm a fighter. I already, like, I've done MMA fights. I already have a little bit something different than even these other badasses. You know, they're all badasses in their own right, but I am in a different way. You know.
Nice.
And yeah, they definitely made me show them. It was fun. I ended up meeting a lot of people in the military because I was always looking for people to train, and it wouldn't be hard to find someone. You know, what it was hard to do was find someone to be consistent. You know, A lot of guys would just want to come in one time, they want to get a good spar in, hit me, get hit, and then they were just kind of like, "All right, I know what you do. That's cool, man." And then that's it. But I did have a few people, I would meet these guys at the gym. I'd see some guy shadow box in. I kind of watch him while I'm doing my thing. I'm like, all right, this guy looks like he has some skill, I'd go and talk to him and be like, hello, sir, I'm Private Peterson. I do MMA. Would you like to train with me?
At its most basic form, it's basically you asking another dude, bro, you want to like do this? Like, you want to
Yeah.
bang, bro? Like, is that
Yeah,
cool?
for real. For real. It was funny. I actually would always have two sets of gear. When I was in the Marine Corps, I never had just my gloves with me. I would bring two pairs of gloves, two pairs of shin guards, and a set of tie pads. Because I was like, I gotta find someone will do it. I'll tell them. I'll be like, I got the gear, man. Do you want to hold pads sometime? You want to spar? So there was a lot of that.
That's a
Even when
smart man.
I was on ship, I was on a Navy ship. The one like deployment I did, we were out in Japan and went to a bunch of other places. But while we were on the Navy ship, we would bust out the gear and like hit tie pads in the shower or wherever you can get a good amount of space, or go up on the when we could on the, what do they call it, flight deck. Go on the flight deck, hit pads out there. They had this old, like, those gym mats. It's like 4 rectangles that fold up like that.
Mm-hmm.
They had an old ringworm infested one of those sitting in a closet on the flight deck. They had like 2 of them. They'd bust those nasty things out, and then we would have like rolls. They would be like the end of PT, running, and then it would be like, all right, you and you go till someone taps out. And of course, to me, that was like my moment to shine. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna mess somebody up today.
Of course,
yeah.
and
Some
that's
crazy times. Crazy
I mean,
times.
but you know what though? I think that those are the kind of fun things that when you are in those situations, it could be so serious, it could be so difficult, it could be so taxing. But I'm sure that those moments of training actually gave you some form of levity. Like those were a good release, I'm sure, during those times for you.
Yeah, definitely. Training martial arts has always been the release for sure.
So, did that bring you in your time with the military? Did that bring you to San Diego, or how do you end up there?
So most of my military time I was in Virginia, and I got out in 2012, and then within, so I get out in March 2012. By May, I think, I decide I'm gonna make my pro debut, and I've got a fight scheduled. So I want to do the last bit of my camp. I want to kill it for my pro debut, And my boy Matt Van Buren, shout out to Gutter, was he was training for a big fight. He was signed with Bellator at the time. He's training for a big fight in San Diego. He's a 205er, so he was training with Brandon Vera and Phil Davis and those guys, all the big guys. And I'm on the phone with him because he was one of my main training partners in Virginia. He's one of the few people that he was always down. We were on the same path, we're both trying to make it big. But he tells me, hey man, you should do your last 2 weeks out here at Alliance in the Chula Vista back when it was at 3rd and K. Shout out to 3rd and K. He calls me, tells me, hey, I talked to coach, you can stay at the gym. So I go out there, I get a ticket for 2 weeks. I'm supposed to be in San Diego 2 weeks, fly back, do my fight in Virginia, beat this dude up, get my first win. That's the plan. Instead, the fight falls through while I'm in California. So I'm training. I probably trained for about a week and a half. And in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm about to go back to Virginia, get this fight. But then fight falls through and I had to make a decision. I'm like, man, am I just going to go back and just start over? And then I was like, hell no, I'm going to just stay here until I book another fight and then I'll go back. So that's what I did. Lived at the gym for about 2 months and got a fight, first pro fight. I fly back to Virginia and have that fight. It's a cool fight. It was a good fight, but I lost, so that kind of sucked. But I definitely I fell in love with the training out here right away. I knew within, man, maybe 2 days. Just did those first 2 days. I did the pro session in the morning, and then trained with the pros at night. And it was by day 2, I was like, dude, this is it. This is where I gotta be.
How did you get hooked specifically with San Diego? Because obviously it's a mecca for jiu-jitsu, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a mecca for MMA. And you are somebody who looks like, as you're building your jiu-jitsu career, you're also heavy eyes on your MMA career. So what was the
Yeah.
appeal of making you stay after that good experience that you did have there, though?
Um, Man, it was just the training was really regimented, and I just had a lot of training partners, and that were all at a high level, and I just wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to that, being in such a big room of just hungry guys that are all at a high level. Um, I definitely took my lickings, to say the least. My first few years going through my first bit of my pro career at Alliance, but that's, to me, that's always the tell. Like, where do you need to be? You need to be at a place where the guys are testing you and making you feel like you have something to work on. You know, you need to be somewhere where people are challenging you and putting you to the test regularly. And that grind, I fell in love with it real fast.
That's awesome, man. And again, I love the fact that you found your way out here to San Diego because, I'm a little bit more north. I'm out in LA, but I do try, when there's not pandemics happening, to make my way down to San Diego multiple times to go train because I love the training there. You can literally walk 5 feet and you're going to go, there's more training here? Like,
Yep.
we're pretty spoiled here in Southern California to
Little,
have
little
such great.
schools everywhere. Little
Yeah.
schools everywhere.
So let me ask this, because you get to a point now where you've assembled some fights, you've started doing all this stuff. When do you start becoming more invested on the jiu-jitsu side, maybe to open up your own gym or to make it become something that is going to become a career on the jiu-jitsu side?
Um, Man, so one cool thing about there's a gym I trained at. I hadn't mentioned yet. I trained at a gym called Hybrid Training Center in Virginia while I was out there, and that's actually where I got my blue belt. I got my blue belt from a guy named Scotty Oates, or Scott Oates. He's a black belt under Saulo Ribeiro. But anyways, so Scott Oates is the black belt at that gym, and he's kind of runs the jiu-jitsu portion of the fight team and all that stuff. But the rule there to be on the Hybrid Training Center fight team and fight out of that gym is you had to be a blue belt to fight. And it's I don't know, it was I've always thought that was a pretty cool rule, because that I got my blue belt before I ended up fighting for them, because it was something that they were like, no, dude, you have to do this. We're not having you fight out of here, and your jiu-jitsu's not at this standard. You know what I mean? He's like, you're not going to represent me and our team with with this level of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I like that rule a lot as well. I'm just going to tell you, because I've seen some guys that I go, you have such unlimited potential, but can we just like work on this for a little bit?
Yeah, but there's so many directions you could go with that argument. I mean, I know guys right now that are white belts that can whoop people. You know what I mean? Like, their belt rank doesn't speak for their capabilities and their technique.
Mm-hmm.
But to a certain degree, if someone's a blue belt, then you initially have a higher standard of what their jiu-jitsu should be, because, man, without it, you don't. I guess you don't know with somebody. It's interesting that you can get really, really, really good at jiu-jitsu without actually getting ranked. Even especially if you come from a hard wrestling background, and then for whatever reason you just only train no-gi, at all these no-gi places and you just don't get ranked, and you're just like, oh, whatever, you know. That's interesting.
I'd also like to get to know a little bit more about just kind of your favorite fights, because you've got a healthy fight career here, some really cool moments, you know, in doing the research before we were going to do this interview. I like your clips, but I am curious from your perspective, if somebody is not familiar with, say, your fight catalog, are there particular fights that you would say, hey, I really like this one, I think that you should be aware of these? Like, those are the ones that I either feel I'm proud of or that I like.
Yeah, two that I really like. I like I actually, it was on my Instagram story today. It's first Doug DeBach. I flying kneed him, or jumping kneed him, and then kneed him in the face and knocked him out. It was pretty sweet. And then the very next fight I had was my LFA debut. It was versus Bobby Lee. Those two fights. So me versus Doug DeBach and me versus Bobby Lee. Those are both some pretty sick fights that show a lot of who I am as a fighter. Yeah, the Doug DeBach fight was just awesome, because the dude talked trash and tried to get in my face and all that sort of stuff. It was like just the best. Man, that fight was great. It was the best. I loved it.
I can tell usually a trash talker when I see one, so I don't really get that vibe from you. When somebody does do that, though, especially from that perspective, like, how hard is it to not just laugh your ass off? Because, see, I'm a guy...
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do. I mean, like, when dudes get in my face, man, it kind of makes me... I'm just like, okay, what's up, man? All right. I'm pretty, like, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm lighthearted during the fight time, but I can laugh things off for sure.
Because, see, I don't understand the fight world as much as I do the comedy world. So, the comedy world, somebody tries to do this to me, I just judge it based off the joke. So half the time when people are being, like, funny with me and they're being really serious, like, if we're rolling and they try and tell a joke, I'm like, you gotta stop. And they're like, why? I was like, because if this becomes who tells better roast jokes, I'm going to pass your guard. And I don't think I would without it. So you want to keep it more level for you and more fair for you. But if you try roasting me, I have way better material about your face. And then they're like, what's wrong with my face? And then all of a sudden I'm into side control and I go, see, this is why you're weak. This is why I wouldn't suggest doing this. Of course, those are fun things to do. And I kind of get that. I want to transition to talking about your next fight coming up June 5th. So what can we understand and what do we need to know about this fight? This is going to be your first fight, if I'm not incorrect here, in about almost a year and a half or so?
Yep. First fight in about a year and a half. Mostly due to it's just been hard to get a fight in COVID land. A lot of the fighters can feel me on that, and jiu-jitsu competitors, really, you know, any athletics. It's just been hard. Everything's been limited, but I've been trying really hard. This whole, maybe last 6 months, I've been pushing hard for a fight, and I guess finally the right guys decided to follow through and decided to work with me, and we made it happen. So shoot, it's back to I'm going back to pretty much what I built my career on, and that's flying out to fight at someone's hometown in a smaller show, and I'm gonna go spoil the show. You know, I'm gonna go ruin a bunch of people's good time. You know, the dude is from there, and he's their boy. He's fought for them a few times in a row. There's no doubt that he's gonna be the favorite in the crowd. He's gonna have people there. He's probably gonna sell a lot of tickets. But I'm going to be there with my coaches. Some of my family's going to fly in. Some of my friends are going to fly in. My people are going to be louder than his people. I'm going to hit harder than him. And it's going to be a good old fashioned scrap.
So talk to me about this, because you say you're flying in. Where are you taking this fight at?
Oh, it's in Florida. It's in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay. I was about to say, I was like,
Yeah.
there's only a handful of places that I know that are going to be like, fights, no problem. Florida was one of them. But if he's got
Yep.
the hometown there,
Yeah, it's gonna be an
that's pretty
audience. It's
interesting.
gonna be sick.
So, okay.
Yeah, full crowd.
I know that when you say a year and a half off, most people hear that and they think, injury, all that sort of stuff. This is, I'm sure, purely pandemic based.
Yep.
That has been the layoff, and as you mentioned, it's been hard to get those fights. What does fighting now, given everything that we've all faced during the pandemic, mean to you?
Man, that's a deep question. uh Man, what does fighting mean to me? I wanna go out there and just represent my school, and represent myself, and my family and those close to me, and just go out there and just put my heart out there, put all my hard work, put all our preparation, all the cumulative training and knowledge that everybody around me in my martial arts life, just go put that out there, and just go, we're here, what's up.
Yeah, you mentioned this, and it's been so hard for me to always have these conversations with the athletes, because I think, you take that away from them, that momentum, that everything, that adrenaline, that rush, it is so difficult to replace that with anything else. A lot of fighters tend
That's
to be
right.
adrenaline junkies, so it's not like you can stay there and go, well, I'm going to jump out of this plane, it'll be the same thing. It's like, well, it's a different thing. You're feeling a
Yeah.
different kind of adrenaline. Fighting, I know, is such a pure thing for them that not being able to do that has to make it difficult. How were you in your gym, and how did that work during the pandemic? Were you okay? Were you one of those gyms that, had to figure out how things were going to work? What was it like for you and your students?
At first we were doing a lot of stuff online, right in the heat of the pandemic, about a year ago now, everything was online. We just transitioned, it was crazy. That's a whole story in itself. Because we actually had to move, our gym moved from one location to another right as the beginning of the quarantine hit. So we were actually like didn't have a gym. We had all our stuff in storage. Because I'm just obsessive, I was like, soon as we had our stuff in storage, I was like, well, I gotta save a spot. So I have like 10 by 10 feet of mats, so I have a spot to work out. But yeah, everything was online. It was terrible. But because I was coaching people still, we had some dedicators during the pandemic, and I was always coaching them, like this on like a FaceTime call every night. We were doing it 6 days a week still, or 5 days a week. So it ended up keeping me in shape too. I was like working out with them in my apartment on like 5 by 5 mats, took up our whole dang little studio. But we got through it, and then as things started to open up, we were just able to train a little bit more. And there was a rough period at first where everyone's coming back to their first gym session post quarantine, and everyone's out of shape. But we we worked hard. We worked hard, and man, everyone's really hungry right now, going from, you know, 10 months ago, 8 months ago to now. Holy man, everyone is in shape and hungry.
I will tell you this. I think that maybe perhaps one of the only benefits of the pandemic was that the out of shapeness it made everybody else put them at my level. So it's kind of like, haha, now you guys are like me. Now you're slow and you have to figure out if this technique works. Sucks,
Yep,
huh?
yep.
You know, so I definitely had a good laugh at their expense, because they're like, wait, like I had one of the guys who I know who fights professionally. He's really good, and he always has great roles with me, but in very different ways. And it robbed him of all of his athleticism. And I remember him looking at me and being like, oh my God. And I go, what? He goes, I've become you. Like it happened. And I was like, here's the good
Oh
news. You're
no.
gonna get it back. It just,
Yeah.
when you see me
It's
setting up some arm bars that you probably think I wouldn't get, I probably won't in 6 months. But for right now, I'm going to enjoy this momentum that
oh yeah.
swung back in my favor. So
Oh yeah.
very happy for me.
I like it.
I would tell you this, though. I think it's really
Technique always
remarkable.
prevails.
It depends on what steroids and what bomba the other people are taking, if they're equal in strength and technique. I'm just, listen, that doesn't happen in jiu-jitsu. What I am saying, though, is I'm just so happy that you get the opportunity to go and fight again. You get a crowd. You get all that sort of pomp and circumstance. But for you, it just seems like part of your journey that I've learned today and that I've seen in kind of the clips and kind of the research that I've done is that taking that away has been difficult, but at the very least, you now have like this nice light at the end of the tunnel to do what you do best. And it sounds like you have a bunch of family and friends that are eager and excited to see you go do that then. So
Yeah.
I guess the last appeal I have here is, let's just say right now, I'm a prospective person who likes MMA in Florida. What is your best appeal to make me buy a ticket for June 5th, given all things and all different things I could be spending my money on? Why should I come see your fight?
Have you ever had blood fly out of the cage and hit you?
Wait, hold on. Don't. This isn't to me. This is an appeal to the people who.
I'm asking them to ask themselves.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we're gonna work on the language of this because I think the ad copy
Right,
could
yeah,
work
that
a little
was
bit better.
bad. That wasn't a good sell at all.
Also, I'll say this. As somebody who has reported cage side for a number of fights, the last thing you want is blood spilling on your notes, because I will tell you it has happened in the past, especially with fighters that I know who I went to go interview afterwards. I have to pull them aside and I go, hey, yo, just real quick, your blood got on my notes. And they literally looked at me and just go, dope. And I was like, no, it's not dope. It's super gross. I don't want your blood on my fucking notes. Anyway, I guess that's what I'm saying. So let's try this again. Why should people buy a ticket? One of your friends here, Gregory Roberts, is trying to help you out. And he says, all around violence.
All around violence. That's what I'm talking about, Greg. Thanks, Greg. That's right. If you want to see all around violence, you want to see knuckles, you want to see elbows, you want to see knees, you want to see action in every single position, man, I'm going to wreck this kid, and you guys want to see it.
See, that's much better. That's much better than, do you like blood on you outside the cage? Just, that's not going to sit well, I think, with the people who are sitting there going, I mean, I could go see Godzilla versus Kong, or I could go see them fight. You know what? Godzilla versus Kong doesn't get blood in my face. I think we're going to see them.
That's true. That's true. Maybe I was speaking to a small audience there.
You're okay. I mean, listen, dude. It takes a certain kind of person to fight. But here's the good news about you, is learning about your journey. I've seen how far you've come. And, dude, I just want to compliment you on the strides that you've made. I think it's so cool when we can look back at our youth and just kind of say, that was silly. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here now. So it is really cool to hear you kind of go through that. And now, as a coach and a mentor, I'm sure, to so many other people and fighters, you're probably sparing them a lot of those mistakes that you might have made and helping them find a better way toward it.
Yeah. Of course, the kids programs and stuff are a lot less violent than MMA fights. And to be honest, I mean, we train a lot of kids, and for most of the time, we're like, man, you don't need to fight. Doing martial arts is one thing, but a lot of these kids, we're like, we don't want them to be fighters. But being able to teach kids jiu-jitsu, teach kids wrestling, and bring them to tournaments, and just see them go through that growth process, go through kids going through their belt ranks and having that dedication to just be at the gym all the time. It's an awesome thing to be a part of.
And again, I think that's super dope. And especially now that we're hopefully seeing light at the end of the tunnel for the pandemic as well. I think that's so great that kids are going to need a place like this. They're going to need a place like you, and that you provide to help get them on track. I'm seeing right here, it says best wrestling program in East County, San Diego. I mean, that's
right.
pretty awesome.
That's right. East County. Alliance East. And Sharks.
Good moniker. I'm pretty sure once I make my way back down to San Diego, I might have to give that a visit, because I have what is known here in Southern California as the worst wrestling in all of Southern California, which I didn't know was an actual moniker they handed out, but apparently comes with a plaque.
We don't let our kids pull guard.
Well, bless you, because here's the good news. I will pull guard against those kids once they're trying to murder me in 10 years. Yeah. So they can do whatever they want.
Shake hands, blast double.
That's pretty spectacular. And from the man himself, Dane Donovan, saying Jeffrey Peterson is a killer and has never been in a boring fight. I was about to say, I was like, sorry, I'm illiterate. I am so pumped for him. So that's pretty spectacular. Good for you. Good for him. Let's do this, my friend.
Helping me out, man.
Dane's a good person, just really always super nice, super beneficial. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I want to circle third with you. I want to give you an opportunity to go ahead and plug your gym. I want to give you an opportunity to thank all those people who are helping get ready for, again, June 5th. The floor is yours, sir.
First, just want to thank my beautiful fiance, Kimberly, who I thought was right next to me, but she actually is in the other room now. Second, thanks to my gym, thanks to my team, everyone at Alliance East. You guys all mean the world to me. Love you guys, and thank you for everything you do every single day and for making Alliance East what it is. And then thank you to my coaches, Coach Casey, my Jiu-Jitsu coach, Coach Casey, Spider Monkey, and my coach Carl over at Steel MMA. Thank you, Coach Carl. Coach Tony, Tony Palafox. Thank you guys for going on this journey with me. I really appreciate it. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. What we all do for 2 months at a time to prepare for a contest and prepare for an event like this. Not just my fight, but all you guys do. Everyone at the gym competing. Everyone that has a goal. The journey we go on during these times. It's a wonderful thing, and I love it. Thank you guys.
Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for your time, my man. It has been a pleasure getting to know you better here today, and I look forward to seeing that fight, my man. And I know that they're going to have that out in Florida. Are we going to be able to catch that on any kind of video thing or anything like that?
So the show is called Combat Night MMA. Maybe the Instagram handle's Combat Night Pro, I think. But I guess they live stream it on their website. It's like they do like an online pay-per-view. I don't know, 10, 15, 20 bucks, something like that. But it's pretty well put together. I've looked at the show, so looks good. Buy it.
That sounds good.
Watch a scrap.
Well, listen, dude, I'm going to be rooting for you. I appreciate you with your time here today. I'm going to close up this little shindig here, and then I'm going to say bye to you off air. But I want to thank you again for your time, sir. Thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Ralph. I really appreciate your time. Have a good night. Talk to you again soon, huh?
You too. I mean, probably in like 30 seconds, but give or take how long it takes me to do this. But yes, in the future, we'll probably set up another one of these. I'll talk to you in just a second. All right, everybody. That is Jeff Peterson, the administrator. I'm going to say this to you guys. First and foremost, WWE BJJ Week is almost here. It is a couple days away. Finish your submissions. Get them done. I want to give this belt away, but not to people who suck. I want to give it to somebody who has a really good submission. And I'm not just saying just like a good submission finish. I'm talking about like a good story, a good humorous thing, something that makes us remember that here in Jiu-Jitsu we have a sense of humor. So are you that person? Can you give us that? That's what I'm hoping for. So those submissions are due April 3rd, 11:59 Best Coast time. Get them to me by Saturday because we want to give away this championship belt. It is going to be so epic this year. And I see over here, it says, great interview, new fan, appreciate you putting up local talent. That's what I do here. Local talent gets interviewed just like the idiots like Gary and Gordon, all the other dummies that we know, because screw those guys. And it says, get my boy Keith Krikorian. Oh, Keith has been a long time person on this show. We know Keith. Keith is a near and dear friend of this show. I'm sure we'll have him back at some point when he stops being shy. And of course, it says, any BJJ coming up, Ralph. I don't know what that means, but let's just say yes. I think that's a good way to do it. It says, my boys, Mason Fowler says hi. Well, tell Mason I say hello to him. He's been on a monster truck rally, killing just everywhere. And I look forward to seeing him compete over at Third Coast Grappling, which, by the way, is a great segue. Tomorrow we return back right here, right now. We are going to do another interview, and that is going to be with our friends over at Third Coast Grappling. That is Ryan McGuire is going to join us. We're going to ask about that big card that they've coming up on Fight TV. And then Friday, actually there's no fights this weekend, so I have this weekend off. And then Monday, we have Amanda Lowen. It's my first time talking with her. I'm very excited to chat with her. She's been on a tear, Submission Underground. She is so amazing and so nice, and I cannot wait to talk with her. My friends, that's going to do it for us here tonight. My name is Rafa Esparza. It has been a pleasure talking with you on this wonderful Tuesday night. Go give us some likes and subscriptions and 5-star reviews on all of those different places. Even if they don't accept 5-star reviews, try giving us one. Couldn't hurt. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.